from digital allowances to the chores for cash debate. Here's how to raise children who can actually manage their money.
Welcome to Checks and Balances, the Takeover. I'm Makayla.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are talking about kids and cash. Teaching your kids about money? Tell me about it.
Yes, well, I think let's start by talking about our experiences as kids with money. What did your parents do with pocket money for you?
I got a whole toonie. If you're not a Canadian,
What?
a toonie is a $2 coin, and it has 2 loons on it, which is why it's called a toonie.
That is
That's a
so cute.
Fun fact
I never
for you.
knew. Yeah.
And yeah, I got a toonie once a week allowance, but I had to do all of the chores.
All of the
Well,
whole,
I just mean the chores you could give a 10-year-old.
top to bottom, the whole house. And what did you spend your toonie on? What did it get you?
Unfortunately, I always spent it on lollies instantly.
Oh my goodness.
Which
I was
probably is reflective on adult me's habits.
Well, I would get, so the rule in our house was half your age. So as you got, as pocket money. So as you got older, you got slightly more money. I guess that makes sense,
This
right?
is a very complex system.
Probably speaks to my personality, doesn't it? But yeah, half your age as you got older. And I also spent all of my money at the dairy on lollies.
Fair enough.
So
Lollies are great.
Similar experience. I'm really excited to talk about this topic, super passionate about it. And it is something that comes up a lot in conversation with clients and when we do webinars and seminars. And it's a really common concern that parents have. They want to help their kids, get on a good pathway with money. A lot of adults we speak to now haven't had that opportunity. So they're getting into adulthood and they're having large amounts of money from their income and they're going, actually, I don't know how to manage this. And parents are going, well, actually, if I can teach my children from an early age how to manage this stuff really well, they're set up for the future. So, excited to talk about ways that parents can do that.
Yeah, I think from an early age is actually the key point there, because with kids, I think a lot of parents will wait until they're maybe 10 or at an age where we as adults think they start comprehending things. They'll wait till then to teach them about these things. But that kind of information is more so absorbed rather than directly taught. So even though they may be 5-6 years old and you're teaching them about here's your toonie, that's still counting towards their thoughts on it going into adulthood.
Yes, and there's 2 parts to it. There's what you're doing with them directly in terms of what you're giving them and how you're helping them manage the money. But there's also what they're absorbing from you by observation. So leading by example is such a big part of this too. So when you've got your stuff sorted and you have systems or structures in place that work really well, your kids are going to absorb that, and talking about that stuff with them can only help them get ahead.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before that financial education isn't really taught in schools in New Zealand until now, because they've just announced that they're going to be bringing that in as a mandatory part of schooling, which I think is amazing. But a lot of that still sits on the parents to set their kids up for that success.
Definitely. It'll give everybody a really good baseline. And as you say, up until now, it has been seriously lacking. So it's a huge plus, and at least everybody's getting some exposure to it. But that can all be reinforced at home, definitely. So to kick this off, let's talk about the way that you pay your children their pocket money. And there's a couple of options, right? So one option is that they just get the money as a given. And they don't have to do anything for it. And to be fair, I can't remember if I had to do anything for it.
I definitely had to do chores.
I can't remember. We had a
So you just got paid for existing.
I feel like I did, which is, naughty. But I've ended up okay. Financial advisor somehow. So that's one option. You get money as for existing. The other option is that you get money for doing chores. Now, there is a school of thought around this that as an adult, you have to do your chores. Let's call them chores, regardless.
Anyway.
Yeah. And it's an intrinsic value of having a clean house and your life organized. So does that too closely tie the reward of money to something you're going to have to do not for money later?
Maybe, but I feel like when you're a kid, there's not a lot of things you can do to earn money that aren't child labor.
Well, this is the difference. Okay, so then you've got the commission-based structure where they have to do a base level of chores. So say your chores were, I don't know, the bathroom and the dishwasher or something was one child, and you had to keep your bedroom clean, things like that. Then there's extra tasks that they could do around the house that perhaps the adults would normally do, like washing the car could be a good one.
Right.
Mowing the lawns if they got older. Like 12-year-olds can mow the lawns, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So come up with some of those extra ad hoc chores that they can choose to do for money.
Right.
So it's very much like this is not your day-to-day responsibility, but if you do it, you get paid for it.
You are offering additional service.
Yeah. And so then the work is tied to the reward, and maybe you do a hybrid of both. They have, I don't know, a toonie for their base level chores, but the opportunity to earn more if they need to or want to.
I suppose that makes sense. Like that kind of goes into like the lemonade stand. Kids still do that. Like, you know, you are setting up something. It's not part of your household chores, but you are figuring out what can I do to earn some extra money as a kid.
Yeah. And I have some clients that I've spoken to about this quite recently. They were telling me that their son, who's still really young, he's under 10, I'm sure, and he's quite entrepreneurial because he's been set up with this kind of system from quite a young age, and he's picking fruit from the backyard and selling it out the front, you know, and he's young. So he's earning money on his own, completely self-motivated. So it's quite interesting.
I will say I was like that when I was a kid, which you wouldn't think because as I'm a self-confessed spender, but a spender needs money to spend. So I used to like draw little pictures of characters in school and sell them to kids for like a couple bucks.
That's so
it'd be
funny.
like people would like commission me to draw, like, can you draw me like a cat with a hat on? And I would draw it and they'd pay me.
That is so cute. I'm in the presence of a commissioned artist.
Yes, an entrepreneur.
I love that. So yeah, there's a few different options there, and I think which one you go with probably depends on your family dynamic, probably depends a little bit on the child as well. You could probably test a couple of these things out and find which one works for you.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about what are like the core money lessons that we're trying to teach our hypothetical children. I don't have any.
We should have opened with this caveat. Neither of us have children, but
No.
we do speak to a lot of people with children, like I said, who have these examples of things that they're doing. So this is not from experience, but from osmosis. So the first one is saving. So we want to teach our children, hypothetical children, that they don't just get things that they want because they want them. They have to save for them. So this is the delayed gratification lesson as opposed to instant gratification. So if they want a particular toy or lollies or whatever it is, they have to save up for it themselves. They don't just get it as a given unless it's maybe Christmas or birthday.
This makes sense. I actually have a quick little story. Emily, don't kill me. I'm going to share this story quickly. David, my husband, when he was a kid and he was earning money, he had a paper route or something like that. His older sister had a CD player
Like
that
a
she was
boombox.
selling. Yes.
Yeah.
And she wanted to get rid of it and he wanted it. So he agreed to buy it off of her for X amount of dollars. And he did the paper route, saved up. He saved up enough money. And then he didn't want to buy it anymore because he was a kid and he was like, I have all this money. I don't want to buy that. I want to like go to the dairy or I want to do whichever. And his parents were like, no, you agreed that you would purchase this. So you have to fulfill your end of the contract. And I thought that was actually a really good lesson for a kid because it's not only like you have entered an agreement to purchase this thing, saved for the thing.
Yeah.
You have to buy it.
Yeah, that's so. And she could have sold it. It's opportunity cost for her because she could have sold it to someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like buying a house.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like you enter the due diligence period.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's teaching patience, it's tying those values together, and it does mean that later in life, it's not going to be a case of, oh, I want this item of clothing, I'll put it on buy now, pay later. They have to save for it.
Yeah.
You're learning that from really young.
I like it.
The next one is kind of the opposite of this, and I know I felt this as a child sometimes. I would spend all my money and be like, dang, I have nothing left. And that's an important lesson too.
Yeah, I don't think that the balance of spending and saving is something that I learned as a kid because my parents were very focused on teaching me how to earn money. Like I always had some kind of job, not chores. I had chores and allowance, but I always had some kind of like I'd help out in my mom's shop or I would, do whatever. But off the back of that, it was just, oh, I have money, I'll spend it. I don't think I ever had a full piggy bank.
So yeah, learning it's important to enjoy the money and let them enjoy the money, but once it's gone as well.
Yes.
Is an important lesson. So maybe it's helping them with some longer term savings or, teaching that sort of lesson along the way. The next one is earning. As you've just touched on, rewards are tied to effort. So you're learning the value of I put work and effort in and I get paid for it a certain way. I actually had a friend back in high school who got paid for his grades.
Oh, I knew people like that too. Yeah. My grades weren't very good, so I couldn't swing that.
that system wouldn't have worked. But yeah, so every excellence he got, he would get paid a certain amount.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I guess it still teaches the same thing. Reward is tied to effort. And if you get excellence at work, quite a lot of the time,
you get a bonus.
You get paid for that reward. So it's teaching that, again, even through high school.
I suppose it's a way to motivate. Like, of course, you do have kids that are more like academically inclined and some that are maybe more hands-on with things. So finding a way that works.
Okay, so the next one's giving. And this one's focused on generosity and empathy for others.
I feel like that's really important to put into kids, but maybe difficult to find examples of. Like,
yeah.
I can think of, I have a few friends who have like younger kids that are really into like cats and like dogs, like pets.
Yeah.
And rather than birthday presents, they've like gathered donations from their friends and family and then done a donation to like the SPCA or something as kind of a lesson of like, it's your birthday, but do you want to like help something you're passionate about?
That's a really nice idea. I think I've also heard of people pre-Christmas, because quite often Christmas you get a bit of an influx, or birthdays, influx of stuff into your house.
Yes.
And it's clothes, books, toys, whatever it is. So they have their children do a bit of a clear out of things that they no longer play with to donate before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And so those things can go to people who are actually going to use them, which is another example of that.
So lots of great lessons we can teach our hypothetical children about how money works and, where we're putting it.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about the lessons we can give the kids, but I want to know what tools are available to people listening that have kids and they want to use things to teach these lessons.
Yes, and I've been talking about an app. So we'll cover that right after this.
If you're thinking, I wish I've learned this earlier, you're not alone.
But it's never too late to take control.
At Lighthouse Financial, we help everyday Kiwis grow their wealth with long-term personalized advice.
No jargon and no judgment.
Whether it's planning for your kids, investing, or getting started,
we're here to help you make better money moves.
Now back to the show.
Okay, so that app I was telling you about.
Do tell.
It's called SquareOne, and it's been around a little while. It's actually New Zealand based, which is really cool. It helps kids learn about earning, spending, saving. The one thing to keep in mind is that there's a little fee of $4.99 a month. And it's not a bank account, so it doesn't earn interest. So it sort of acts like a bank account, but it's not a bank account.
Okay. Not sponsored, by the way. No, but I actually thought this was really interesting because when you were showing me this app website thing, I thought it was neat that what they offer is kind of like a controlled debit card for kids. And we're talking about us being kids and us getting our like dollars and cents as an allowance. Nowadays, kids are getting a card.
Yes.
That's crazy to me. But tell me more about how it works.
I think when we were kids, we were spending in cash, right? A lot of the time. It was actual cash.
I remember my first debit card. It was a big day for me.
Yeah. Whereas now a lot of places, especially since COVID, don't even take cash. So that wouldn't work. So these cards are linked to an app where the parents can top it up ahead of time and it just gets debited from a parent's account into the account. And then the kids can spend on the card wherever they like.
It's like a bus card.
Yeah, exactly. But the cool thing about that is that it's sort of with guardrails on because parents can see where their kids are spending. Like if they're off buying vapes or something, you're going to know about it.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I wonder if you can put like a block if you don't want them spending at certain shops. Because you know how transactions are kind of like banks have the technology to sort transactions into certain categories based on like where it was. And so could you go, like, for example, vapes is a great example because
Yes.
that runs rampant in the youth.
Yes.
Could it just decline, like, if you go to that kind of store?
maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I should pitch
I guess
that
you
to
can
them.
get vapes from the dairy though too, right? And you want them to be able to get their lollies.
That is true.
I don't know.
Lollies are important.
Yes. And so it's cool because it teaches them the money management in a controlled environment. It also allows them to save portions of whatever their pocket money is.
Right.
So they can actually section off bits and bobs if they want to. And within the app, it's got the we talked about the commission jobs that they can do. They're in the app. So they could be like, oh, yep, I've washed the car, tick. And then I wonder if there's a flaw there. I could just keep being like, yeah, I washed the car. Ding, ding, ding.
I mean, I'm pretty
ding.
sure the parents have to verify
Surely.
that the activity occurred.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear from some parents who use this app because obviously we don't have children. We haven't used it, but I have heard good things. So if you've had good or bad experiences with it, maybe the rest of our community can benefit from your stories. Pop them below. But yeah, it seems like a super interesting tool. And from all the research I did and the reviews I read, most of them are positive.
I feel like the core of this is that you kind of have to figure out what works for your family.
Yeah.
Because, not every family is going to want their kid on an app, on the phone, whichever. Maybe
Do they
do
even
want to
have
be the old school.
Yeah, do they even have smartphones?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
totally.
feel like every kid has one now.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's another episode. A different podcast altogether. But yeah, so key points today are it is important to get some sort of structure and system in place to teach your children from an early age about how to manage their money and their spending. How you do that, there's a variety of ways that you can do that within your family. Maybe trial a couple, see how they go. Ask around some friends that have had some success with it and see what they're doing. And yeah, non-spawn, but maybe worth looking into that SquareOne app.
I agree. And just as Jess said, it would be cool to know people's stories if they've tried that app specifically, but also share with us like what you have done and what has worked, because I'm sure other people reading the comments on any platform would be interested to know what goes well.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you to Lighthouse Financial for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.